Jason, what's up, man? It's great to have you with me this morning.
Yeah, happy to be here. No problem.
Hey, Jason, do you mind telling everyone your role at Steam and maybe a couple of your past roles with experience with sales?
Sure. Yeah. So Steam Logistics, I'm the CEO here. We are a technology-enabled freight forwarder and customs broker, which, to put it really simply, we're kind of like a travel agent for freight. So we help mostly U.S.-based companies, or at least companies that have a large U.S. presence, import and export goods, primarily through air and ocean transportation. Prior to that,
yeah, it's amazing.
I was also in a transportation business called Access America, which was a very similar model, but it was domestic freight. So we were doing the same type of thing, but we were matching up shippers with truck capacity. So truckload, less than truckload, that kind of thing. And then prior to that, I spent about 12 years in where we had a company that did healthcare marketing programs for hospitals around the country. So most of that career was really devoted to sales. So I came over to Steam, I guess about 5 or 6 years ago. And then prior to that, everything had been kind of a trajectory up through the sales organization, starting out as a salesperson and then, you know, kind of transitioning into sales leadership. So that's been my background mostly.
Yeah, man, it's by all means impressive. I think we met probably 8, almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And I've watched the rise. So it's appreciate the time, and it's been incredibly impressive to watch you and the folks at Steam grow that business.
Yeah.
Which brings me to today. We have a mutual friend, and he and I are talking about this new content series we're doing, Sales Fails with Ambition, trying to talk through some of the things that didn't go right, how they became a coachable moment. And he and I are emailing. He's like, you got to talk to Jason. He's got a great story from, I think, back in the Access days, where you walked into a situation that went sideways, it sounds like pretty quick. So, man, Jason, tee it up. Well, tell me about the sales fail and how you guys, what you learned from it.
Yeah. I mean, I could fill an hour with sales fails probably, but this one is pretty good standout story. So when I first came to Access America, I was coming into a new industry. I really knew nothing about freight, to be honest with you. I was able to convince those folks that I could learn the industry if they would allow me to do that on the job. And so I had only been there pretty much long enough to know where the bathroom was. And so right after I got there, we had 10 branch offices around the country. And one of those folks that was running one of those branches had reached out to me early on and said, hey, welcome to the team. I've got to go to Texas to go see this big customer of ours, which I think at the time was like number 5. They were probably doing somewhere in between $5 and $10 million with the business, maybe $8 or $9 million. And they were a big customer. And he said, hey, I got to go see these guys. I'd love to have you come along. I'd like to introduce you and sort of make that connection. I said, great. How do I need to prepare for this? And he said, don't even worry about it. I got it covered. Just come along. And it's really just more of a kind of a meet and greet type of thing. They're really happy with us. It's going to be a love fest, basically, is sort of how it was presented. And so, great. We went to Texas, walked into the meeting, and the guy that I was with sort of teed up the meeting and just said, hey, just want to make these connections. Jason just joined us, and really just here without a full agenda, wanted to just, let you know how much we appreciate the business and get your thoughts on, where things are going for the next year. And the guy really kind of was straight-faced and just said, let me just stop you right there. He said, he goes, I've been here 9 months, and this is the first time I've met anybody from your company. I've looked at the numbers. You guys have done a ton of work for us over the years, and I'm already moving forward, and I have a whole new strategy, and it's in the works, and I'm already looking ahead with a whole new RFQ and all these other things, and frankly, you guys aren't going to be a part of it.
It's brutal. God.
I'm obviously on my
heels. Is it just silence?
The funny thing is,
is the room just silence after that, or what was the reaction?
Well, I kind of waited for him to respond. I mean, it's his meeting, his customer, and I kind of can feel him like shrinking in his chair, and he just sort of looks at me as if I'm gonna like pull us out of this mess. So obviously, I just started tap dancing and you know, just tried to save face and basically apologize and say, hey, I sort of used my newness as a you know, as some kind of a defense, and just said, hey, I'm new here. I don't know anything about the history of this, but I hear what you're saying. I can assure you that even though maybe we haven't demonstrated, you know, how much value you all bring to our company, certainly that is the case. Let me kind of regroup with our team and come back and present to you some, you know, some ideas and options that maybe you would consider. And it was kind of too little too late, but I certainly, you know, tried to fight hard to not lose it. And we did do some follow-up things. And there were some things about his new direction that probably we weren't going to be able to address anyways. But at the end of the day, it was a pretty powerful lesson around the importance of getting out in front of organizational change and not, you know, getting too comfortable. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, what did you take away? I mean, that sounds like one of the biggest things that even we deal with here is, you know, new leadership, new project owner, new whatever. If we don't know, then we're probably at risk at least.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, it's kind of conventional wisdom at this point, conventional sales wisdom. But obviously, when there's a change in leadership, everybody's alarm bells should be going off big time. You know, anytime that happens, it's actually both a huge threat and an opportunity, to be honest, because
right.
You know, obviously, when somebody leaves, the new person's going to come in and generally speaking, whatever the previous person did is completely the wrong strategy, right? So they're coming in to make a mark.
Yeah.
So you've got to have your antenna up for that. And it's also important, obviously, to have relationships both above, below, and laterally to these core leaders, so that you have more than just you know, one relationship within the organization. So. But the opportunity component of it is, if you do a good job and you do stay out in front of this change and you do demonstrate that you're ready to change with the organization, you can retain that business. And then the ultimate goal, obviously, is wherever the previous contact goes, they'll take them.
That's right.
Right. So you can sort of double down on it if you do it right. But it's not going to go well if you don't take seriously the risk associated with change.
I couldn't agree more. Last question, or maybe part of it. How was that car ride with the with your coworker there away from the office?
Yeah, he was really shaken up, and I was too. I mean, you know, here I am, you know, new to the organization, and I'm in a meeting that is going to likely result in losing, you know, a top 5, top 10 client. So, you know, we just hurried back to the car, got several people on the phone, and, you know, started to try to, you know, address the problem and see what we could put together. And we acted quickly, and I think at the very least we demonstrated to him that we took everything seriously. It was just a little too late. So and it ultimately didn't really work out for that guy, unfortunately. But you know, I don't know if it was only because of that, but I think that, you know, obviously was not helpful for him. But yeah, it was a tough learning lesson, and you know, it's just a reminder that I always think about sales, and what I tell our people is be prudently paranoid. You know, don't be so paranoid that you can't function, but keep a certain level of discomfort around those relationships, because they can change really on a dime.
Man, I think that's the perfect takeaway from this, and I really appreciate that prudent paranoia, if you will. Like,
yeah,
I definitely think in both of our businesses, and I would assume in most, like, you know, it's not just transactional. You know, if you guys are helping people move freight from point A to point B, you're probably moving a lot more freight than just one lane or one specific task. And the same thing for us. Like, those sales leadership relationships change quickly, the priorities change quickly. Even if someone loves us last week, new results come out, and smarter people or different people are coming in with a new plan next week, and it could be different.
Definitely, yeah.
Well, Jason, man, I appreciate this so much. I'm excited to share this the sales fail a little bit, and I think probably some real life tactics that folks could put into their own playbook to try to combat it. So thanks so much for the time, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to do it.